The formal apology took 40 minutes to deliver. Ambassador Kale of the Theron Dominion had clearly rehearsed it. His words were measured, appropriately solemn, hitting every note required by Galactic Accord Resolution 7, acknowledgement of aggression, expression of remorse, commitment to reparative intent. His aide had placed a carefully prepared summary document on the table at the outset. His legal team occupied the 3 chairs behind him, present to ensure every word met the precise statutory requirements for a valid pre-treaty apology. It was, by every formal measure, exactly what it was supposed to be. Ambassador Jean Holloway sat across the table and listened to all of it without expression. She was 61 years old. She had been 12 when the Theron fleet hit the colony on Kessel's Ridge. She remembered the emergency broadcasts. She remembered her mother turning off the screen and not explaining why for 3 days. She remembered years later reading the casualty figures for the first time as a diplomatic history student and having to leave the room. 40,216 dead. Civilian settlement. No military presence. No strategic value. The Theron had done it to test a new weapons system. She let Ambassador Kale finish. Let the last word settle into the silence of the room. Then she reached down beside her chair, lifted a folder onto the table, and slid it across to him with one hand. It wasn't thick. That was the first thing Kale noticed. For 30 years of documentation, it was remarkably thin. Elegant, almost. "We accept your apology," Holloway said. "We thought you should know what you're apologizing for." Kale opened the folder. The first page was a simple timeline. 30 years of dates, each with a brief notation beside it. He scanned the first few entries and felt something shift in the room that he couldn't immediately name. The Theron's application for Accord Trade Corridor access in 2271 denied, citing unresolved procedural concerns raised by a minor human diplomatic attaché that had never been formally withdrawn. The Veris-Theron Propulsion Technology Partnership in 2274 collapsed after the lead Veris engineer accepted a dramatically better offer from a human research consortium 2 weeks before the contract was signed. He had worked for that consortium for 6 months, then retired comfortably. The Theron's bid for a seat on the Accord's Resource Allocation Committee in 2027-6 failed by 2 votes. Both voting delegates had in the preceding month been guests of the human diplomatic mission on separate occasions. Neither meeting had been logged as influential, neither needed to be. Kale turned the page. The Theron's primary fuel supplier had quietly restructured its contracts in 2027-9, deprioritizing Theron routes due to what was documented as routine commercial realignment. The company's second-largest investor, Kale now read, had been a human infrastructure fund. Their most promising military shipyard had suffered 3 separate equipment failures between 2281 and 2283. Unrelated incidents, each investigated and closed as mechanical fault. The components that failed had all been sourced through the same supply chain. That supply chain passed through 2 human-registered transit hubs. In 2285, the Theron's leading physicist, the one whose work on drive compression had been 15 years ahead of anyone else in the Dominion, had been offered a research fellowship at a human university. Full funding, complete academic freedom, everything a scientist could want. She had accepted immediately and never returned. Kyle turned pages. The pattern didn't change, it only accumulated. Contracts quietly steered elsewhere. Partnerships that dissolved at critical moments. Talent that left and didn't come back. Doors that never quite opened. Votes that never quite landed. Nothing illegal, nothing that could be pointed to cleanly and called what it was. 30 years of headwinds that had felt, to the Theron, like ordinary misfortune. It had not been ordinary misfortune. Kalan looked up from the folder. Holloway's expression had not changed. She was watching him with the patient, settled calm of someone who had been waiting a long time for this specific moment and found it exactly as satisfying as expected. "We didn't want another war," she said. "We're not unreasonable." She folded her hands on the table. "We just decided that if you were going to exist in the same galaxy as us, you were going to do it slowly." Kale looked back down at the folder. 30 years, documented with the quiet precision of people who had never forgotten and never needed to raise their voice about it. "The treaty terms are on the last page," Holloway said. "They're very reasonable. We're told you'll find them a relief after everything else." She let that land. "Welcome to the peace, Ambassador. It's long overdue. What's the most effective weapon humanity used against the Theron over 30 years? Follow Sci-Fi Shorts for more original sci-fi short stories, HFY, space opera, and life between the stars.